Hey guys, so today we're jumping into the top 10 characters of Dragon Ball Legends list. This is the February 2024 list. I don't think I did one in January because there wasn't that many changes to the game. We got a bunch of GT stuff, but it wasn't really until we got Super 17 here, you can see on the screen here, that the meta really saw any significant change whatsoever, so I felt like it was worth waiting until we got the full brunt of the GT campaign here before I jumped into one of these top 10 videos. As per usual, I do like to just mention 3 quick points here. Number 1, all characters are considered to be at 14 stars, best teams, best equips, max title boosts, everything to possibly have them at their best possible positions. Number 2, this is definitely more so going to be a top 10 rankings in terms of the current meta environment, not so much which character is better than which in a vacuum. So that is going to come into play here when we talk about the rankings in a second. Number 3, this list is going to consist of rankings that are construed of my own opinion, my own experience. I think this point is going to be probably more so relevant for this list than the past lists, because I have seen a few people talking about their opinions on, which characters are ranked at which spots on social media recently. And I have obviously different experiences than those people, because I definitely don't agree with a lot of the placements I've seen so far. So this is probably going to be a very, different list than I think most people are probably used to seeing from players either in the NA meta or the EU meta, because obviously I play the game in the JP meta, the Japan meta, so that probably is going to come into play with this list here, because I think it's going to be a bit different than what you're used to seeing from other people who play the game in different regions. So with that said, let's go ahead and start off with number 10, and we will move up the list from there. Alrighty, number 10 on the list is going to be Ultra Janemba. So the thing about this guy is, I think individually, when you take a look at like how good is each character just in a vacuum on their own, this guy's still very, very powerful. The things that he's doing are just really not fair in a lot of ways. I do think this is a very bad meta for him, especially with the fact that I believe still the best team in the game is going to be Saiyans. UI Goku, you have Goku and Bardock, and you have Revival Pikkon. I feel like that team has been the best in the game for a good 2 months at this point, or since whenever UI Goku released, a month and a half or whatever it's been. But yeah, this guy has like essentially no impact versus that team. He can't really do anything offensively. He can't really do anything defensively. He's not really looking too good against that team, but there are situations where if you get into the right spot, you can just guaranteed kill somebody with the ultimate. He still does a lot of damage with the strike attacks. The cover null is really strong on this character. His team situation is a little bit down. I think regen just is not as good as it was when this guy first released. Of course, when this guy came out, it was pre-Legends Fest. We had not the same level of strength in the game overall as we do now. Of course, post Legends Fest, all the Legends Fest characters just completely stomp out what we've seen basically prior to the celebration dropping. And now with GT, I would argue that the solar flare is actually a pretty big problem for this guy. This guy's claim to fame, at least for the first part of him being released, was his unique gauge, being able to just stop all strike cards. The meta was insanely strike heavy when this guy came out. And we've sort of seen a bit of a shift with that. A lot of the Saiyan characters that we've gotten, UI Goku, mostly. We have Blue Kaioken Goku, Evolution Blue Vegeta, who also kind of are more blast-based as well. So a lot more blast characters coming out. GT as a team is more blast-based, with Super 17 now coming out as well. And I think with Super 17 being as blast-based as he is, with how many blast cards he force draws for himself as well, could pose a bit of a problem for this guy. Even though he is blue, I think 17 just can sort of hang in there with this guy. So Janemba, unfortunately, not looking as good as he did when he came out. I think this guy's design is very bad, though, so I'm pretty happy to see that he's falling off a bit. But on the other hand, I am a big villain fan, so it's kind of depressing that we don't really have very many good villains in the game right now. However, I think Janemba, when we get a good regen set up for him again, he can potentially see a resurgence, but we'll have to wait and see what the meta is like at that point. Are we going to have 900 green units just coming through every single match and really stop putting a stop to this guy's guaranteed ultimate? We'll see. But number 10 is going to be Janemba. Let's move on to number 9. Coming in at number 9, we have Blue Kaioken Goku and Evolution Blue Vegeta. Kind of an interesting situation this character is in right now. I certainly don't think they're bad. I don't think they are undertuned as a character. This is, again, just another example of a character that is not necessarily the greatest spot. They're not necessarily in the greatest spot for this meta right now. This character dropped, and it's like there was an interesting dynamic with this character, because obviously they're meant to be a universe rep buff here. They spent the entirety of 2023 essentially buffing Universe Reps leading up to Legends Fest, where they dropped this guy in part 1, and then they dropped Ultra UI Goku in part 3. And I imagine they envisioned Ultra UI Goku sort of helping this character out on Universe Reps, and they want you to run them both next to each other. But what ended up being the reality was, I actually think Universe Reps team as a whole, they got hurt a lot by the release of UI Goku more than they got helped, because UI Goku fits much better on a Saiyan team next to Goku and Bardock and the Revival Pikkon. And that sort of became a bad interaction with the existing Universe Reps team, where this character is obviously at their best because they're a blast-based character. They're going to be helped tremendously by other characters that are able to generate green cards, stuff like that. So this character sort of found themselves fighting against more UI Gokus than they did fighting with UI Gokus. And when this character goes up against UI Goku, a lot of times they're just going to get smacked by the ultimate lock-in and they can't do anything. And it's just, it's sad, because not only is that the case, but this character obviously does want to build up throughout the course of a fight, building up the charge rate of their unique gauge. And it's very tough for this character to build their unique gauge when you have a character that is able to stop their combos in the middle of their combo, even through cover null. UI Goku does not care about cover null at all, right, with his gauge. So it becomes a lot more difficult to be able to build this character up to where they want to be. And that is definitely a inherent flaw with this character as well. The fact that, like, the first combo, you're never really able to get to the point you want to be unless you just get fed with infinite green cards, which is not really going to be realistically the case most of the time. It usually takes 1.5 combos for this character to really get steamrolling through to the point where they want to be able to be dominating the fight. And that is, it is technically a weakness for them. I'm honestly kind of glad that exists, because if this character was as good as they were when they filled up their unique gauge twice from the start of the fight, things would be a lot different. And I think that would have been very bad for the game. Like, it would be Vegito Blue on steroids, honestly, if that was the case. So they do need a combo and a half to build up, and it becomes very difficult to achieve that when you have characters that are stopping the combo mid-fight. And then, on the offensive end, that's a problem for them. And then on the defensive end, they face the same exact problem with UI Goku just locking him in and killing him a lot of the time. So that is a bit of an issue for this character. And then as we get more and more characters moving forward that are very offensive, it's going to become harder for this character to, I think, see tons of play at the highest level. Characters like Super 17 that are just going to utterly decimate this character, which unfortunately is going to be the case, I think. But that's not to say this character can't see a resurgence if Universe Reps gets more buffs, or if we start to see a shift in the construction of Sun Family or Vegeta Clan, or maybe just the Saiyan team in general, where it warrants running this character on the team, because they can fill a good role there as the main combo character. But they release Goku and Bardock, and it's like they're just leagues beyond this unit in terms of their flexibility. So it's tough to really want to run this character over Goku and Bardock, because I feel like they sort of share the same spot, the same role on the team. So we'll see what happens going forward. But as of right now, I feel like I'm pretty comfortable with this character being at 9 on the list. So Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku and Evolution Blue Vegeta at 9. Let's move on to number 8. All right, number 8 is going to be Ultra Vegito Blue. Definitely at this point, I would consider this guy to be a very well-aging character. This guy came out, I believe it was in July, right? At the end of the anniversary. The tail end of the anniversary. So now at this point, I mean, he is like 6-7 months old almost. So he's definitely aging very well. I think there's not really much, not really many negative things I could say about this guy here. But I'll sort of make the same comment that I made about Blue Kaioken Goku and Evolution Blue Vegeta at number 9, which is just the fact that it's tough for this guy to really get going as he once did when you have characters like UI Goku out on the field. We're seeing, Blue GT Spirit Bomb Goku, who we'll talk about later on, definitely is a pretty big issue for this guy. It's funny because we saw like these major Blue releases come out one after another when this guy released, and he was still able to push through. But now as we head into 2024 and we get, we continue to get these major Blue characters coming out, things are eventually going to start to be a little bit tougher for this guy, right? He was able to punch through the 2023 Blue characters. We got our first 2024 Blue character with LF Spirit Bomb GT Goku, and it is very tough. It is very tough for this guy to punch through that guy. That guy is very, very hard to kill, even for type neutral units, let alone type disadvantage for this guy, right? He's susceptible to the Solar Flare. He gets torn in half by Super 17. Goku and Bardock laugh at this guy, but obviously, that's like for most of the characters in the game, that pertains to, the same situation, right? But I think overall, this guy's aged very well. I think the biggest problem for this character, not just in terms of like the other meta characters, but just in general, is actually, this is going to sound crazy, but Future actually has not seen much help recently, right? The last time we got a Future buff I'm pretty sure it was just when this guy came out, right? Like, what was the other? What Future buffs have we gotten since this guy released? Cell, Purple Cell, I guess. He was the only other Future buff. So since Purple Cell's release, which again was in July, right? We did not see any other Future buffs. So we know at this point that we are going to be seeing a Cell, something related to the Cell saga coming out next. So it's possible we could get some kind of new Cell. We could get some kind of new Trunks who would help Future. And that would definitely help this character out, because remember, this guy's two main teams are Fusion Warriors and Future. You could potentially run him as leader on like Saiyans, but obviously you'd rather just run like UI Goku there. So if you're going to run him on the leader slot for other teams, it's going to be a suboptimal team. That's just the way it is. But on Future and Fusion Warriors is pretty good. I think Fusion Warriors is a team, you know, with Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta Zenkai, definitely better than it was before. And then Future just has not gotten any help since Cell came out. So I think once Fusion Warriors gets more help, once Future gets more help with Cell, this guy can jump up a bit in the rankings. But as it stands right now, like, again, it's just 7 months later after this guy's come out, we've simply seen better units. That's just the way it is. So this guy is aging well, though, so I'll be interested in seeing how well he does moving forward. Number 8, Ultra Vegito Blue. Let's move on to number 7. All right, number 7, we have Zenkai LF Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. So upon initial usage of this character, I mean, we've obviously had, almost 4 weeks of this guy being released now. So we've had a bit of time to run this guy, see how he works. And with GT now being fully fleshed out, I think I can give a bit of a more generalized opinion about how he's doing right now. So there's actually 2 points I'm going to make about this guy. Number 1, I actually think they could have given him more than they did. And that might sound crazy considering he's number 7 on this list, which is very good for a Zenkai character. It's very rare that we ever see a Zenkai character this high up on the list. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, the reason why he's so high on the list, this is like a hand-picked perfect meta for this character. And they obviously did this on purpose, right? They set this meta up to where you're terrified of bringing like any purple unit. And obviously that's due to UI Goku's existence. UI Goku, if you are a purple character and you get touched by UI Goku, you're probably dead, right? I mean, we still have a lot of good purple characters in the game, and it's like they're just nowhere to be seen a lot of the times thanks to UI Goku being a character that is in most matches, right? So that's number 1. Number 2, there are quite a lot of revival characters in this meta right now. I think Orange Piccolo is, pretty common. Obviously, Pikkon Gogeta is very common. Obviously, those revival characters being in this meta, and I sometimes see Revival Goku being thrown around, the UI Goku. So there's quite a bit of revival units that are being used right now. Obviously, that does help this character because he does get the anti-revive mechanics to be activated when he does activate an enemy's revival skill. He gets 50% permanent damage, he heals, he gets 4 Dragon Balls, very strong. And as the person using the revival character, you always have to be on the lookout for that. Getting rushed by this guy, getting ulted by this guy in your revival character, it's really bad for you if you do that. So that is another good thing about him. And then obviously number 3 is he's a very good character to be ran on GT because he does provide support, he does provide healing to GT characters. So, I mean, overall, this guy's in a really good spot right now. I think once we start to get better, stronger overall characters moving forward in 2024, I would not be surprised at all if this guy started to fall off rather quickly. But as it stands right now, this guy's looking pretty solid in this meta right now. The only problem with this guy, and I've mentioned this on social media, in terms of like when I said the first point that I don't think they gave him enough, they could have given him more, whatever. He doesn't really tank the greatest. He doesn't really do the craziest damage, and he doesn't really have any disrupt. So he's doing a lot of things that are like decent. Like he it's not like he doesn't tank well at all. Like he tanks fine. His damage is fine. His ultimate hits very hard. Like outside of his ultimate, it doesn't really do much damage. His ultimate and his blue card hit very hard. But outside of those 2 things, like his strike attacks don't really do much damage. His blast attacks don't really do much damage. His offense is sort of concentrated within the ultimate and within the blue card. This guy's blue card is like one of his best assets. But I feel like they could have given him, not much, but maybe like, I don't know, his first strike arts upon switch in deals 100% more strike damage or something like that. Like they give a lot of these characters that kind of mechanic. The first card that you use does X% more damage. I think that could have been nice for this guy, just to give him a bit more burst upon switching into the battlefield. And then the biggest disappointment for me, I think, with this character is just his defense. He doesn't really have the greatest defensive abilities. Given he's a defensive type, given he has the double cover change, he can strikes and blasts, which is pretty nice. He has like the one-time damage reduction for the first time he gets hit, or before the first time he gets hit in the fight. He has type neutrality. Like, it's all nice, but at the end of the day, he's not tanking. He's not taking damage well in most instances. So that, I think they could have given him a little bit more potentially, but overall, I think he's good. Obviously, they're not trying to make Zenkai characters the best characters in the game overall. And in terms of just position in the meta, he's looking very solid. So I don't really have many other things to say about this guy. Off to a good start with GT this year. Zenkai Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta coming in at number 7. Let's move on. Okay, coming in at number 6, we have Revival, Pikkon, and Gogeta. Again, not much to say about this character. You guys definitely have fought this guy enough times to know how good he is, what they're able to do. The only reason why they're not higher on the list, I guess, is we'll just move on to that point, is what I talked about with Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is a very common unit to fight. A lot of people are using GT. I think GT is one of the strongest teams in the game. I don't think it's the best team in the game, but it is up there. I think it's, on par with some of the best teams in the game, thanks to the recent releases we've seen. But it becomes a lot tougher to use this character. You can't just throw him out willy-nilly expecting to, let's just have the revive go off, because it becomes a lot tougher in a situation where you're fighting Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. You can't just do that because then they can just rush you and then rush you again, and then it snowballs itself into being a very unwinnable situation for using this character like that. But of course, he's still very, very good. He provides support. He has the Disrupt. He has the green card generation. Ridiculous character to be used alongside other Saiyans on that best team in the game, which I talked about, Ultra UI Goku plus Goku and Bardock. The fact that this guy is able to just provide like a seemingly unlimited amount of green cards to Goku and Bardock is the biggest plus with this character, I think. But, as a member of what I still think is the best team in the game, it's very tough to... it's very to put this guy lower on this list than 6. But not really much else to say here. You guys know how this guy works. I think the only thing just to say here is I would have had him higher if it weren't for the prevalence, I guess, of Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta across the game right now. Because, again, he is fairly common, at least from what I've seen. Right? My experience with the game is I run into GT fairly often. And, of course, it becomes a lot more annoying to... a lot more annoying to use this character when you have to worry constantly about potentially getting, either Rising Rush or Ultimated or just sniped with a green card from Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, as opposed to just the normalcy with this character every match when you're not fighting against Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, which is just, he's just there to soak damage, he's there to disrupt, he's there to do his thing. So it adds another layer of concern for him. But other than that, he's a very good character, still going to age probably very well. Number 6 is Pikkon/Gogeta. Let's move on to the top 5. All right, starting off the top 5 here at number 5, we have LF Spirit Bomb GT Goku. So definitely this guy has gained a significant amount of value from the addition of Super 17. The GT team is now basically complete. We have this guy, we have Super 17, and we have Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta essentially together. Though that is the main GT team you're going to be using. There's no other construction of the team you'd probably want to use other than those 3 characters. I mean, it's by far the best lineup for the GT setup. So just the good things about this character, because this is actually going to be the first video where I include this guy on the list, because I didn't make a separate list when this guy first dropped. His green card is really, really good. I think overall the amount of teams using Blue 17 has definitely fallen. Blue 17 is just, at this point, he needs a Zenkai buff. Like, it is actually ridiculous. We're 13 months since he came out, and still he doesn't have a single, like, actual good Zenkai. He has the, yes, I know he has the free Blue 21 Zenkai buff. No one cares. That's not a real Zenkai buff. He needs a real Zenkai buff to be able to at least be like a usable defensive character. That's the biggest problem with Blue 17 right now. I just think he takes way too much damage. Way too much damage. So with that being said, the amount of teams people are using Blue 17 on has definitely fallen, which means that his green card is going to be able to be useful much more often because people are not going to be immune to his green card effect as much. The only thing to mention about this is, I forgot to mention this when I was talking about Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, but Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta actually is immune to this guy's green card, which does matter. It actually really does. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta also, I don't know why I keep talking about him in this section here, but he actually is a very good character to use in the mirror match against other GT teams, right? You basically need him. But anyway, yeah, very, very good green card. You could set up different things with him. You could, blind somebody, switch into Super 17, get a combo rolling. You could blind somebody, then, just ult somebody with this Goku. Remember, he draws a blue card as well. You can set up a blue card snipe with Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Overall, really powerful green card. I said this when we saw his details for the first time. People are going to find crazy ways to make use of his Solar Flare. Solar Flare back in the early days of this game was a very powerful ability, and now I think a lot of people who weren't playing back then can see why. This guy actually does work very well against a lot of other popular teams right now. He actually worked really well against other GT teams. Androids, obviously, this guy is really, really good versus Super 17. One of the few characters that's actually able to wall him off, essentially. He's pretty good against movies, because obviously Beast Gohan is not going to pose a gigantic threat versus this guy. He's pretty good against Sun Family. Again, against Beast Gohan, he's pretty good against UI Goku. He's able to just a lot of times eat the ultimate from UI Goku and not just die to it. And then the last thing just to mention is that his ultimate is insanely powerful. If you're able to get one enemy defeated, from that point forward, this guy has one of the best ults in the entire game. He's a lock-in. If you're fighting against the last man standing on the enemy team, you can remove their vanish. It's really strong. The only sort of thing I'll say about this character, which is what keeps him from moving up more on the list, I think is just the fact that he's not nearly as offensively powerful as any other character that we're going to talk about moving forward from this point forward on this list. And I understand that he's meant to be a defensive character, which is fine. He does his role perfectly fine. I think the healing combined with just his raw bulk on GT with the ridiculous equipment he has access to, with the Zenkai buffs he has access to, I think he's fine. I don't really have a major issue with him. I'm just saying, his offense is not as good as the other better characters on this list. So that, I think, is going to hurt him a little bit. He gets access to Cover Null for the first few cards, which is nice. Again, really strong green card, pretty good matchups against other characters, strong ultimate. Don't really have many negative things to say about this Goku. Overall, he's just a really solid character, and I think he probably should be a auto-include in GT moving forward, unless we get some major tune-ups for the team, which we'll see if we do. So GT Goku coming in at number 5. Let's move on to number 4. Okay, so at this point, this is probably where my list is going to be differing from a lot of other people's lists. I have Beast Gohan at 4. I don't think there is some, oh my god, massive difference between, the top 4 characters. It's pretty close. It's not that crazy of a difference here. So I have Beast Gohan at 4. I'm not really going to go through what he can do because we've been through this a million times. So I'll just give off my reasons as to why I don't have him higher. Number 1 is going to be teams. I don't think hybrids. I don't think movies is at the level that we're seeing of GT or Saiyans. Sun Family can be really good, right? You just run a Sun Family variant, UI Goku, Goku and Bardock, and then this character. I just think it's a worse version of Saiyans. I think you just replace this Gohan with Pikkon, and the team is a lot better. The team flows a lot better. Pikkon's able to generate a lot more green cards. He's able to provide the revive in case you need the extra defense. He's able to disrupt a bit better than this Gohan is, and I think that's really what the role of the character is going to be on that team, right? You're basically, whenever you're running Goku and Bardock on a team, you're going to be designating the pointness. When I say pointness, I just mean the character you're using the most to deal damage, to combo with. That's Goku and Bardock's job. They're going to be gaining priority most of the time with their green card. They're going to be comboing for most of the time with their ridiculous card draw speed plus Cover Null combination. And then when you're not in with them, most of the time you're just using UI Goku to buy time, to get Goku and Bardock back in, to continue the process over and over again. And so I felt that, if that's going to be this character's role on that Sun Family setup, you're better off just running Pikkon, and the Saiyan team is just going to be a lot better than the Sun Family variant. But obviously it's not a bad team to run Gohan, UI Goku, and Goku and Bardock together. I just think it's a slightly worse version of the Saiyan version. So teams, I think this guy definitely falls short of the other characters we're going to talk about in a second in top 3. And then I just think overall, just tool-wise, right? This character is very basic. He does a lot of damage. He is able to get cover null fairly easily. He has a really, really easy to execute drop combo, transformation, vanish removal thing, sort of like a mini Dragon Fist tech. Really cheap way to gain priority. If you like tackle somebody and they counter you with a strike card, you could like switch into Gohan and just easily gain priority with that, removing their vanish, stuff like that. But he's a very basic character. Getting vanish back's pretty good, gets cover null pretty easily. He goes type neutral. But like in terms of defensive mechanics, other than his gauge, other than his just straight up bulk, like he's not doing anything particularly special there. He doesn't have like a way to disrupt the enemy combo mid-combo. He doesn't have indestructible. He doesn't have endurance. Doesn't have revive. He's not really stacking up any kind of like negative effects, like cost increase, like card draw speed down, card destruction. He does have card destruction when he swaps in once, right? Then he does destroy green cards when he uses his green card, which actually I have found to be pretty annoying. Especially with all these teams now that are really making uses of tons of green cards. Actually, it's pretty good against Super 17, actually. This Gohan's green card able to destroy enemy green cards. If you're running against the Super 17, right, you can just ensure that they don't have a green card in their hand, and then you can go for a blast successfully because you know they won't be able to absorb it. But again, when you compare this guy to the 3 characters we're going to talk about ahead of him, I feel like they have a bit more in terms of utility defensively than this guy does to be able to work better with their teams than this guy does. Gauge, again, is very powerful for this character. But for me, this character is mainly about his offensive potential. And when we talk about, other people that I've seen, at least, or that I've seen personally talking about, oh, this guy's clearly number 1, blah, 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 blah. A lot of times what I'm seeing from them is they're using this guy on like some like super juiced up team, which is like not realistic at all in high ranks. Like you're not going to see someone running like Red Pan, Orange Piccolo in top ranks with this guy. It's not going to happen. Like you can win with that team. I'm not saying you can't win with that team, but you need to have competent other characters besides just this one guy. Like investing all of your eggs into one basket with this character, it can work out for you, but it's such a risk. Like it's just not worth it most of the time. It's fun. It's a fun setup, but in terms of it actually being competitive, I have my doubts. X to doubt. So I have this guy at number 4. Again, not really like a massive difference between him and the rest of the top characters here, which we're about to talk about. But so Beast at 4. Let's move on to number 3. All right, coming in at number 3, we have Ultra UI Sign Goku. Again, not going to go through all the nitty-gritty details because you guys know how this guy operates. Super 17's release probably hurt this guy quite a bit, but he just works too well with the Saiyan setup, with the Saiyan setup that I mentioned this entire video. UI Goku, Goku and Bardock, and Pikkon. The fact that he also generates a green card when he has his gauge activated, like what were they thinking? You know what? I'm going to pull this up. I usually don't pull up details during these top 10 videos, but I feel like I actually have to talk about this. This is something that I feel like not a lot of people have talked about besides me. I've talked about this on social media a few times. The following effects occur upon activating Evade. Draws a special arts card next, activates once. I mean, it's only once, but still, it's really strong when you can guarantee draw a green card because you can just feed it to Goku and Bardock, and then you just start snowballing from there. He gets damage, he gets cost reduction, he gets reduce enemies, reduce key effect, or nullifies enemies, reduce key effects. This is the part that is ridiculous. Nobody talks about this. Nobody. I've not seen a single person talk about how stupid this is. Shortens allies subcount by 1. Do you understand how dumb this is? And the reason why it's so stupid is because you like think about how long it takes for the enemy to actually use a blast card, the dodging animation plays out, and then you're also reducing an ally subcount by 1. That is every single time your gauge activates. Remember, this guy has enough gauge to activate the effect twice per fill up. So if he enters the battlefield with a full gauge, you're going to get 2 instances of him dodging, and you're going to be reducing ally subcount by 2 every time that happens, on top of the time it takes for the animation to actually play. So what's basically happening here is you are reducing ally subcount by 2, plus you're basically going to be able to swap into your Goku and Bardock immediately, and you're going to be drawing a green card for them. Like the combination of this guy plus Goku and Bardock is actually, it might be the single most annoying and ridiculous partnership ever between 2 separate characters. Like other ones that come to mind is like Red Pan and Blue Beast when they first dropped. Like it's that level of ridiculousness. this character plus Goku and Bardock. And the fact that you're able to do this consistently, the fact that this has no limit, this reduced sub count by 1 whenever the gauge activates, there's no limit on that. Like, this is actually one of the most broken mechanics ever. And upon initial look at you look at this for the first time, and you're not really going to think much about this. This does not look that broken. Reducing ally sub count by 1, like, sure, whatever. And that's what I said when I first read this. But after using this guy for a decently long period of time, again, he's been out for like a month and a half, I'm going to tell you, this is probably like one of the most ridiculous things about this character. And it's really like, you wouldn't really think about that unless you had a lot of experience using him. Like, this is insanely broken. -1 sub count whenever he dodges. It is ridiculous. But it's not just that, obviously. We have, I didn't mean to press that. We have other things with this character as well. The lock-in, the fact that he himself existing in the game essentially removes all purple characters from the game. The fact that he can just, sort of just stop combos mid-combo. It's basically just like an upgraded version of the Janemba gauge because he can do it multiple times per gauge. So, yeah, I mean, you guys know how good this guy is. I don't think I need to talk about how good he is anymore. But the one thing I will say about this is, of course, we do have Super 17 in the game now. And he definitely has fallen a little bit. I think I had this guy number 1 in my prior list, yeah. He definitely doesn't get helped by Super 17 being in the game, but this guy has a lot of tools to deal with some of the things that Super 17 is wanting to do to him. This guy, remember, he's going type neutral for the first few counts upon switch in. Even if Super 17 absorbs a Ki Blast from this character, this guy's still gonna have access to his gauge. So Super 17 is not really gonna immediately be able to deal with him like immediately, because even if Super 17 removes his Vanish and pops an Ultimate Member, this guy is gonna go type neutral against the Ultimate. He's gonna heal up and he's gonna lower 17's Arts power. It's not gonna one-shot this guy. And his gauge should allow him, if he's not going to go for the ultimate, this guy's gauge should allow him to be able to dodge enough arts cards to be able to switch out before Super 17 is able to hit him after absorbing an attack with his green card. So this guy definitely has a lot of tools to deal with Super 17. Well, not deal with him, but hang in there with Super 17 as a yellow character. So I think with that alone, it doesn't warrant him falling too much off the list here. So I think 3 is a good spot for him. Let's move on to number 2 next. So here's what I'll do. I actually have number 1 and 2 shared on the list. And obviously you guys are going to know who it is, but let's move on to that spot. All right, so I have number 1 and 2 actually shared between 2 characters. I really couldn't pick one over the other. It's tough, man. I think it's really, really close. So of course we have Goku and Bardock, and we have Super 17. I guess we'll just quickly, briefly go over Goku and Bardock. I mean, you guys don't really need me to talk about this character, do you? I mean, the most unfun character to fight. It's just the combination. It's not just them either. It's just the combination of them and UI together. It's just so toxic. It's so cancer. Like, people looked at Super 17 and they're like, this guy's going to be so cancer to fight. This guy's going to suck to fight against. He's going to be so annoying. He's going to be passive, blah, 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 blah. I will tell you right now, without a shadow of a doubt, the combination of this character and UI Goku is 10 times more toxic than anything Super 17 does. I promise you, this is way worse. This character is just so annoying. The AoE green card, just by itself, I would say, is a more toxic mechanic than Super 17's green card. Because there's a lot less ways you can play around dealing with this, right? You make one wrong move, not even just a wrong move, but like you accidentally press your screen and like you lose in some instances against this character. Like you go for a tackle, and if the enemy has a quick vanish against your tackle, they could just hit you with the green card, and then there's action, like you actually can't counter it. There's nothing you could do. And then they go on to their 50 card combo, and then they go into UI Goku, and then they lock you in. It's just like ridiculous. So what I'll say about this character, I would very easily say this character is much better defensively than Super 17 is, and I would also probably say they're a much more flexible character with their teams than Super 17 is as well. But as crazy as it sounds, I actually would say I think Super 17 is a more offensively dominant character than this one is, although Goku and Bardock definitely are very strong offensively. It's tough. It's so hard to compare the two, but Goku and Bardock, you guys know how good they are. Their advantage innately over Super 17 is their defensiveness. They're way better defensively than Super 17. There's nothing that you can say to really argue against that. I would actually say that Super 17 defensively is pretty lacking compared to the other top even 5 characters. So again, the top 5, Spirit Bomb, GT Goku, Beast Gohan, Ultra UI, and then Goku and Bardock. I would say Super 17 is probably worse defensively than all 4 of those characters. So defensiveness is not really like a major player in why I chose to put Super 17 so high on the list. But it's the fact that he doesn't need to be that defensive with his team, because right now his best team by far is GT. That's what he was designed to be good on, and that's exactly what GT needed. I even remember saying this. I was like, I hope that whatever character we get at the end of this month, they're going to be some offensive powerhouse, because GT right now does not have like a good offensive character. GT Goku is fine, but he's obviously supposed to be mostly a defensive unit. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is kind of an all-around character. He can hit really hard with his blue card, he can hit really hard with his ultimate, but he doesn't really do just overall great damage by himself. Well, now we have this guy. This guy is essentially just a modern day version of Ultra Vegito Blue. And he's more centered around what GT needed as a team to function well in the current meta, right? Right now, it's very tough to work around UI Goku's gauge, even as a red character. And I mentioned this when I talked about Ultra Vegito Blue earlier on the list, is Ultra Vegito Blue, like, of course, he's very powerful, very good. Same thing with Blue Kaioken Goku Evolution Blue Vegeta. 2 combo-reliant characters. They're there to just pound away for years at a time. Very tough to do that with UI Goku existing. But this character actually does not have a tough time doing that, because a lot of times he's force drawing specifically blast cards. He's drawing blast cards when the enemy swaps. He's drawing blast cards when you fill up his gauge. He has cover null up for like, I don't know, 70% of the time he's attacking. Like it's ridiculous. One thing that I found to be very, very good with this character, and I actually did mention this on social media as well. So of course we have 2 styles of playing the game, essentially. When it all comes down to it, you can boil it down to 2 styles when you play Dragon Ball Legends. There is a passive play style, and there is a proactive / aggressive play style. I would much rather see characters designed to work around playing proactively. I would like it much more, and I think people would have a much more enjoyable time with the game if we saw more characters that had mechanics that promoted proactive gameplay. So this character has both, which I think is the best part about this character. This guy, obviously, of course, is going to punish any kind of blast cards that you throw at him, obviously barring like rocks that are not considered ki blasts, right? Obviously, you're going to get heavily punished by this. Honestly, what I even go as far as to say is if you ki blast this character at all, you lose. Like, essentially, it's basically what happens. These effects are just like beyond anything we've ever seen with anything. I think like this is the I think I actually would. This is probably the single most punishing mechanic in the game. If you actually throw a ki blast at this character, like you lose. You lose a character almost. There's very few instances where you can actually ki blast this guy and have your ki blast absorbed and come out alive with that character. It's very rare. So that's the part that this character is promoting passive gameplay with. Then the part where he's promoting proactive gameplay with is a very interesting ability here. The following effects occur upon landing a tap shot, tap attack, or quick attack hit. He seals enemy strike and blast cards, he seals enemy strike and special move cards, and he gets an increase to his unique gauge charge rate. The reason why this is so powerful is because if you quick attack somebody, you can go for a blast card and not have to worry about them going for a blast armor strike card or a blast armor blue card. And whenever you tap attack somebody, you can basically safely go for a tackle because you know their strike cards are sealed. So this heavily promotes proactive / aggressive gameplay. And I think the fact that this character can do both styles of gameplay means that he can thrive in essentially any circumstance. He can sit in the back and stall and make your opponent scared to attack. He can go offensive and pressure your opponent into, either switching characters or at least doing something. So there are ways where you can make use of this character in both playstyles, and that's a very, very rare thing. I think the only other character on this list that really can do that as well as this character is UI Goku. The fact that he can obviously dodge attacks and stuff like that. But even with UI Goku, like the enemy's not going to be scared to attack UI Goku. All it means is that he's just going to dodge the attack, right? They're not going to get punished for doing that. Whereas with this guy, you actually cannot attack him. So there's that. There's the fact that he gets double ultimates if you can cover change with him and get the ultimate. He does AoE damage. He holds a paralysis blast card, just making him even more toxic in that way. But this guy is really the complete package. Again, besides the fact that he's not able to traditionally tank as well defensively, I think we can sort of look past that a little bit just because his team is able to fill that role for him, right? GT Goku is there for that reason. We have Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta on the team who is there to cover change for that reason. So there's those things. He's increasing sub counts of the enemy when they switch, right? I mean, there's just infinite things with this character that he's doing that make him absolutely ridiculous. So I mean, that's really all there is to say about Super 17. It's really hard to put him or Goku and Bardock above each other because I just feel like they both have like a similar impact on the game. So that is going to conclude this top 10 list here. So just to go through quickly the list one more time, we have Ultra Janemba at number 10. We have Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku and Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta at number 9. We have Ultra Vegito Blue at number 8. We have Zenkai Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta at number 7. We have Pikkon / Gogeta at number 6. We have LF GT Spirit Bomb Goku at number 5. We have Transforming Red Beast Gohan at number 4. We have Ultra UI Goku at number 3. And then we have a shared slot 1 and 2 with Goku and Bardock and Super 17. Let me know down below if you agree or disagree with the placements on this list. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you all in the next one.